Morty, we've got to turn the project in early.
Hey everybody, we are live and we've got the music back. We fixed it. We figured out what the problem was. Make sure it's, yeah, there we go. You guys have to tell me if I have a video playing in the background. So we are live, we are back. It is Monday, it's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day, right? Hey Olivia, hey Gracie, hey William, hey Hunter, hey everybody. It is Memorial Day, right? I don't know what day it is a lot of times. So what happens when you stay inside every day? I think today is Memorial Day. It's a holiday of some sort, and I guess I should say Memorial Day is when we remember people who have been to war, and a lot have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So definitely want to pay respect to them, and thank you to those who have served and those who are currently serving. So really appreciative. I never want to belittle anything with Brian's inability to track time. So never want to think he doesn't care about this day. Yes, I do. I'm very bad with what day it is. That is the problem. So, okay, enough about me, more about you. We have right here your project. Now, I want to point something out. One, if you turned in earlier tonight, you get extra credit. So do spend today working on it some. There is no homework assignment due tonight. So in Streamlabs should be working. As always, I forget to turn it on. We'll see if it did it. One of these days I need to do a test to see if I don't turn it on, if it actually does it. Because it's supposed to run through, it's supposed to be on anyways, but I'm clicking the buttons now to turn it on, what I think turns it on. Because it's supposed to run through Streamlabs OBS. Okay, it says it's supposed to be on right now. So we'll trust it. We'll say it should be on. So check in 5 minutes. If it doesn't show points, then something weird's happening. Okay, so with the project due tonight, how long will it take us after this session approximately? If you're working with me in this session, I would say another 2 hours. Maybe not, maybe an hour. People are reporting about 4 hours to do the project, but you're going to have specialized help right here. You're going to be like seeing exactly what you need to do. You can ask questions, be like, hey, Brian, this didn't work. I didn't, get this working. This works right now. Well, if OBS is working. So I think someone could get it done by 1:30. The quiz tonight has been moved, but I can work on it. I moved the quiz that was due tonight till tomorrow night. That way people can really focus on the project tonight. We can talk about it tomorrow. But I can, after we do the project, do the quiz that was due tonight. So, William, I can do that if you'd like. So the quiz that was due tonight has been moved. And some people have already done it. It's not that bad a one, but going through it, going through the questions. But we can do that after the project. You got it. We can definitely do that. Let's take a look. So the project, which is due tonight, is not too bad, I would say. But the biggest thing is I want to point something out. One, take a random sample. If you don't take a random sample, I like that right there, Whitley. It's not that bad. It's like yeah, not that bad. Take good screenshots. Let's talk about some stuff right here to start. Probably one of the things I see people do, and I fear it's, well, we say take screenshots. And then people will take screenshots like, they'll take a screenshot of their random sample like this. Like, let's say this is my random sample. They'll be like, here's my screenshot. I don't think anyone's really going to utilize this screenshot. Don't take screenshots of this. The way we can tell you used a random sample. Yay, Streamlabs is back. Thank you, Streamlabs. Good to see you, Claire. So the first thing in your project is to take a random sample. And I'm not using your project data because I don't want to actually do it. But everything you're seeing me do right now, I'm doing question number 1. I'm actually doing the first question. Does that make sense? I am taking a random sample, not for your project data, but what you will do is exactly the same. Like, it's really hard to not take and I have it in my video. So you're like, how do I take a random sample? Tables, subset. Under table subset, you will go here. You will enter in the number for the random sample you want. Like my student ID has 64 at the end of it. So I'm going to enter in 164. Does everyone see that? You'll enter in something like this right here. It'll be the 000 number. The last 2 numbers, you'll enter in like 1. And then the last 2 numbers, you'll hit enter, and then you get your random sample. Boom, random sample. No screenshot needed because I can tell, and the grader, I think I need to talk to my grader tonight, but they'll be grading these, and they can tell throughout the project that if you've changed from this 164. A lot of graphics include the random sample, and this is something we'll probably mention in our executive summary. Now, here's the biggest thing. Let's go and look at the project real quick and talk through it as we do this. Okay. This right here is very important. Like, I put this at the start for a reason. Note, make sure you follow the guidelines of this project. There's a lot of guidelines like do this, explain this. You want it to feel like you're talking to someone. This project should look like a report delivered to a common person. One thing, and my students get me on this. My students do it all the time. They say, "Well, would the common person understand this?" And yes, we do want to say things that are statistical, but then we want to figure out a way that someone would understand it normally. So you can always be like, Brian, that sounds a little too statistically. But it is a statistics report. You have to walk this fine line. It's really hard. So you want to make sure if you gave this report to your parents, they would get something out of it. That's the whole point of learning how to do statistics and business analytics is you can communicate things that are statistical, but to someone who doesn't know statistics because you have this specialized knowledge. So basically put this report, statistics report, this is a statistics report, but the common person should be able to read it. Literally, it is a statistics report. Kind of redundant, but it's there. Make sure to watch the videos related to writing the executive summary and outro. So I've got a video right here. You can watch it. I'll be talking through it a lot today. If you don't catch this or you're skimming through it, you should probably watch this video in full. The report should not look like a school report with numbers before each question. That is huge. My grader will probably take off 5 points if it looks like a school report where you put like question 1, sorry, someone's going to do it and I'm not making fun of you. Just don't do it. That's the best way. Just don't do it. Don't put like question 1, question 1A, question 1B. Don't do that. This is meant, and I've already had one person send me their report, and I told them it looked excellent. You can always send me yours. I do a quick skim of it, so take a note on that. If you want to send Brian your report, he'll do a quick skim. When I do a quick skim, you probably have an A if you got the extra credit. So if you all of a sudden get your report graded after I do the quick skim and you get a 93, don't be like, wait a minute, Brian, you quick skimmed my report. I got a 93. Well, I look for major things. I look for, like formatting errors. I look for your executive summary doesn't look good. I go for all the, these are huge things. And I haven't had someone come back to me and say that they made like a B or a C after I skimmed their report. And I give them suggestions. Usually I'm like, change this, change this, change this. And be a little wary if I give you like 5 or 6 suggestions, because there's probably more. If I can catch 5 or 6 things pretty quickly, if I skim your report and I'm like, oh, it looks great, but your executive summary just needs a little bit shoring up, then I would then it's pretty good. And then I would fix the executive summary for whatever suggestions I give. Okay, here we go. Prompt. You've started your own pizza establishment. Here's a cool thing you can do. You can give it a name. Has anyone got a name for their pizza establishment? I thought that was a thing on the screen. Does anyone have a name for their pizza establishment? Anybody? You can give it a name. You got to name your pizza establishment. That should have been question 1. Should put, you have to give your pizza establishment a name for 1 point. I mean, do it. Why not? Have fun. What is it going to be called? Brian's Pizza is so lame. See, now I'm like, I can't think of a pizza establishment name. I'm trying to think of like something video game related. There's like Mario's Pizza and everything. There already is like a Mario's Pizza. Mega Pizzas. I don't know. That's what I'm going for right now. Mega Pizzas. Is he still here? I think it's Wallman. Oh, he's on the other screen. He's not here today. It is Mega Mondays, so Mega Pizzas. That's sounds interesting. Be like, what's a Mega Pizza? Yeah, and then we have it on the menu. We have like a Mega Pizza. So we're doing Mega Pizzas. Your family and friends have invested their money in your establishment and want to report on the first month of pizzas. So this is your first month. This is your opening month right here of pizzas that you've made. Your goal with this report is to use the data to make decisions moving forward that will make your pizza establishment more successful. So the biggest thing right here is think about when you're writing this report, it's about action items. Have you guys ever heard of that term, action items? Like in an email, like what's the action item? What do you want someone to do from this report? What do you want them to do from this email? So putting in their action items like we need to do this or we'll use this information to do this is very important. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Make sure to watch related videos to the executive summary. That's so key. Okay. I'm going to pause here and talk about the executive summary for a moment. The executive summary, and this is in the videos, and I'll hopefully be copying my videos pretty well, so that way information is consistent. Executive summary. Here's the tips for it. 1, write this after the report. Don't write the executive summary now. Let's talk about a bad executive summary versus a good one. A bad executive summary is going to say this. Sorry for anyone who writes this, but I've seen a lot of these. My name is so-and-so. I am a student at the University of Tennessee. This is a report for this and this. I I was asked to take 200 pizzas and take a random sample of this. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. We got to go with our imagination here. So that's, did everyone hear the bad executive summary from? I want to see some yes. I want to hear some yeses in the chat. I want to see the chat saying, that's bad. Yeah, I heard that. And don't do that. Don't do that now. Don't say, I am so-and-so. I am a student at the University of Tennessee. I am, yes, nice job right there, everyone. Yep, don't do that. Don't write that. Bad, bad. Don't write that. Choppy. Yeah, don't do that. Here's how one should sound. And if you copy this, it's all right. You know, you can change it up. But, you know, like you could write, you could start out with the first month of pizza sales for my establishment, Mega Pizzas, will be in the first month of, and let me look at my pizzas. How many sample do I have? The first month of pizza sales, where we sold 164 pizzas, will be analyzed in the following report. The first month of pizza sales for Mega Pizzas, consisting of 164 individual pizza sales, will be analyzed for Mega Pizzas in this report. Boom, I know the name of your establishment. It's dealing with the first month of pizzas. I know how many pizzas. So you kind of just told me your random sample. That's a very powerful sentence. You could probably fix it up. I'm not the best with grammar, but that just like tells the person what this report's going to be about straight off. Like you're analyzing the first month of Mega Pizza sales for the 164 pizzas we sold. Boom. I'll know your name because it's submitted to Canvas, so I'll know who you are. Don't worry, you don't have to say who you are. You know, you could start off your report. After graduating UT, I have opened Mega Pizzas. This report is the first month of our sales consisting of 164 pizzas sold. Boom, that's one sentence right there. That's like good, strong information. So, you know, go a little bit with your imagination to be like, okay, I just opened this pizza establishment. We had 164 sales this month, and you're communicating a lot. You're communicating the name of your company, what this data is, and how much is in the sample size. So you don't have to say, I took a random sample of this. Once again, we know that because this is like, we made you do this report. So that's a good, strong opening sentence. So now that we have this is where I think it goes off the rails. Because I want you to think what an executive summary is. It's a summary of the whole report. Has anyone ever seen like a Cliff Notes book? And how much does the Cliff Notes tell you about the story? Like you might have a very long book. I'm looking to see if I have a very long book right here. We got it. We got the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover right here. Should give away this book. Someone can get Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. So, how much does a Cliff Notes tell you about that book? Tells you all you need to know in a few paragraphs. And that's a whole book, like condensed. So when you look at a Cliff Notes, nice job right there. That's so funny, William. When we have, I don't know, William, if you wanted that, I should find a place. I could just give you the book. I'm giving away a lot of stuff as I'm moving. So I don't know if you really wanted the Total Money Makeover book to read it and get some Dave Ramsey advice. I'd probably be like, here you go. Here's the Dave Ramsey book. I'm not going to take it with me as I move. I've been trying to follow the baby steps, follow Dave's baby steps, and you'll do well. It's my life advice. My life advice is his life advice. So summarize your entire, how you spell entire? I knew there was an I in there somewhere. Summarize your entire report. So this is what people fail at doing, is they look at a portion of their report down below, and then they feel like they just need to copy it. So if you have something down below here that is like 5 sentences for a portion of your report, let's say, don't put numbers on them, but let's say this is like 1C, and you have 5 sentences for 1C. The 1C might become like half a sentence up here that leads into like another part of a sentence. Like this could be like 1C with 1D. Let's say 1C was like analyzing, I can't remember what it is. Oh, it wouldn't be 1 because that's let's take a random sample question. If 2C, go away, I never like you. I'm going to figure out how to make you never come back. I told it. I said go away. There we go. If 2C and 2D, let's say, for example, 2D and 2C were related to like proportions and stuff like that, because I think that's what the proportions ones are. You might say something like, confidence intervals made for the different pizza toppings. Let us understand how much we would need to order related to the demand at our pizza establishment. So confidence intervals from the, and you could use the numbers. You could say, it's like another sentence. You could say pepperoni was found to be the most favorite. I'm literally giving away answers for the project. Pepperoni was found to be the favorite topping of our consumers from an analysis of the confidence intervals. So that one sentence right there is a strong thing of make these confidence intervals do this. So do you see how, like, I'm telling you the biggest points from the project? Like, we would want, I mean, it's kind of obvious that pepperoni is the most favorite. I went for some low, like, obvious things. That's like, oh, pepperoni is the most favorite. Well, yeah, because if you go to a pizza place, I didn't pick, like, anchovies as the most favorite. I did a few things that were unexpected with the data, but pepperoni was the favorite topping. And so mentioning that's kind of key because your consumers like it. What else could I say? I say a little bit more in the video. Just don't just restate the project. So you'll see because then why would someone read your project? It's, like, imagine if someone told you that they read the Cliff Notes for Harry Potter. They would know the story of Harry Potter, but they wouldn't know, like, all the details. They'd know all the major highlights. And you'd be like, well, why did you do that? Wouldn't you want to read it? And they say, well, I didn't have time. So why would someone read the executive summary? They want to know your report, but they don't have time. And now they might read the executive summary and then read the whole report, but they can also review the executive summary. Like, maybe I want to review Harry Potter. I would go and read the Cliff Notes to be like, oh, yeah, that happened and that happened. I forgot about that. So the executive summary serves a point. Yeah, only the major details. Like, don't worry about every little detail. Like, there's this happy amount of details, and it's like a normal curve. Like, I would say you probably want somewhere around, like, out of all the details, you probably want somewhere around like 60%, a little over half. And you really don't want to go up to that, like, far out. Probably it would go further out, but I'd say it'd be like 40, and like then this would be 80. Like, this is kind of the normal distribution of how much you should include. A little bit more than half of the details should be included in, like, the major ones. But if you think about all the plot points in a Cliff Notes, you would see about 60%. Hey, what's up, Camden? So write a strong executive summary. You're trying to condense your whole report down into, like, a strong paragraph, like I'd say 5 to 8 sentences. Sorry, as I keep hiccuping right there. But have a strong executive summary. So if everyone didn't see it, we're going to take a random sample right here. We already have it. Let's do it again because we just talked about the executive summary. That was a really good talk on executive summary right there. Let's hop in here to the random sample. Let's go to tables, subset. And once again, this is not your data. If you're using this data, you're doing the wrong project, but I'm going to use different data. Click here, type in 1 plus the last 2 of your UTID minus 64, hit enter, enter. And that will take a random sample. You should look down here and you should confirm that there's 164. Who's done this right now and has a random sample? Who's like, I've got it. I want to see some I've done it, or me in the chat. Who's got their random sample right now? Like, they're good. They're like, boom, got my random sample. If you have your random sample, nice job, Kelly. Nice job, William. Nice job, Erica. If you have your random sample, do not take a picture of it. You're good. Mention it at the start of your project to say, like, our first month of pizzas had 164. It'll show up in your pictures. You've got the points. Guess what? We are officially 3 points into the project right now. You've got 3 points. So it's an ending of your lot. Yep. The 00 number, like 0, don't put it in the chat or anything. But the 00 number, the last 2 of it, just take that and take the last 2 of it, and you'll put in like 164 or 181. Some people have 00, like literally they have 00 at the end, so they'll get 100. So that's a random sample. Question 2, we're gonna look at, oh my gosh, we get 15 points. Almost be 1/5 done with the project with question 2 right here. Okay, create a bar chart using analyze distribution. Choose 3 separate pizza toppings and report the distributions. Did I only include 3 pizza toppings? I might have. Include the graphics and interpret the percentages for the pizza toppings. There's a lot of ways to do this. There's a way you could do it, which would be kind of interesting. Maybe I'll try that in a second. Okay, let me close out the full data set. This is a big tip right here. Close out the full data set. Student ID. Yep, student ID. So close out the full data set and make sure you have this. You can save your data set, but here we are. Okay, so we're going to go to Analyze, and then we're going to go to Distribution. 50 points for everyone helping out. Camden, Hannah, and Kate for helping out and asking questions. And now I'm going to go to some variables right here. I'm going to go to these variables right here. I'm pretending these are pizza toppings. Everyone see, like, I am doing what you'll be doing, but I'm doing it with different data. Does that, which one are you lost on, Whitley? Let me slow down. Which part are you lost on? We're going to analyze pizza toppings, but I'm doing something slightly different because I'm not going to do the same project, lest I would actually be doing the project. So I'm doing different data, but doing the same concepts. Does that make sense? Like you'll be doing, we're on part 2. Yep. Do you have your random sample? Do you have a random sample? Yes, no? Random sample, good. You should see down here 100 plus the last 2 of your UTID. If you see that, you're good. Yep. William, great job. Yep. So Whitley, go here to analyze distribution. I'll pause right there. Analyze distribution. Yeah, I'd do it in one paragraph. Elizabeth, great advice. 50 points, Elizabeth. Great advice right there. I would do it all in one paragraph. I would be like, have a paragraph talking about this topic. I'd say each question is one paragraph. I mean, there might be sub-paragraphs for longer things. Like decision tree, I might go sub-paragraphs, but yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing here, you could double-click them, but I'm holding Control, or I think it's Command on a Mac, and I'm selecting, you're going to select pizza toppings. I'm just selecting variables I want to do. So I'm picking gender, it's a 2-level categorical. I'm picking Greek life, it's a 2-level categorical. I'm picking born in tennis, I'm picking broken bone. And so all I'm doing is selecting it, and the whole goal of this is to put them there. As long as you get those Y variables you want to analyze into the distribution, we can look at the distribution of the Y variable. And so I think a distribution is a graphical display. How should we lay out our photos? Yeah, I'll show you some of that here. Yep. You can do this. You can just double click. So go right here and just double click one of them, and it'll put it over there. So just click on it and double click. Just go double click. I'm clicking delete now, or you can click remove. But make sure you're picking categorical ones. Does that make sense right there? Just go to it and double click. Great questions, Whitley. 50 points, Whitley. Is this making sense, Whitley? That you just double click on it? I do some tricks sometimes, but the quickest way I think is just go to it and double click, and then it'll be right there. So, and now we're going to click, you select 3 pizza toppings. Yep. And so make sure you will be doing this over here. Choose 3 separate pizza toppings. Make sure it's pizza toppings. So you got it. You guys are doing awesome. And then, so you'll be doing that over there. We select 3. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the top right arrow, and I'm going to click stack. And remember, you can always rewind live. If you're like, wait, what did he click? Where did he click? You can always rewind, pause the video. You can click live to catch up, and you can always ask a question if you're stuck. Like, let's say you're bouncing around. You're like, wait, what did we do? You can be like, hey, Brian, how did you make it look like that? Go to the red arrows. Red arrows are always where the options are at. Click stack, and now we've done it. We've done it. So I'm actually going to do a quick trick here. Everyone, listen up. This is a quick trick. You ready? So did I say, I think I said 95%. What did I say? What percent confidence did I tell you guys to do? 95. Cool. Okay. So this is a quick trick for these graphics. Okay, everyone, listening it up. Use your left hand. You're going to have to, some people, they'll use their right hand. They'll be like, oh, wait a minute. So I'll be like, hold this with your left hand. I'll see them hold it with their right hand as though they're being like, I'm like, no. Because, okay, you say, why? Why do I need to hold control or command with my left hand? Because with our right hand, or switch it up if you're left-right-handed, with our right hand, we're going to go over here, and we're going to click the red arrow, and we're going to go to confidence intervals and 95%. So if you're on a PC, I'm still holding control. If you're on a PC, hold control. If you're on a Mac, hold command. Keep holding it. Once again, to repeat the process before I do it, you're going to hold control or command, control PC, command on Mac, hold it, go to here, go to confidence interval 95, click it one time, and boom. Look at that. 95% confidence intervals for all of the data. It repeats it. That's my trick right there. Whenever I analyze data in JMP, I can quickly analyze multiple things, and we have it all right here. Now, there's a lot going on right here. There's, I'm 50-50 on how I'd want to do this. So one thing you could do is technically, and this is perfectly fine, this is perfectly legal for the project, is to go right here and to screenshot all of this, and that's your graphic. And I'd probably clean that up. I'd crop that out. If you have stuff in your images, I wouldn't take off points for that. It's going to go off the screen. But if you ever get a little bit more than you want, which you should always get a little bit more, not a little bit less, because you can always go here, click Format, click Crop, and then you can go right here and do this. So you can always crop out a little bit with the black bars. Make sure to grab the black bars. You can always kind of sure up your cropping a little bit. And so there you go. That's just a quick trick right there. Now it's perfectly cropped. You can always go nuts and go right here and be like, no, I don't want that one. You could do that. You could do that. Oh, it's pretty good. They might say don't do that in like reports or whatever. I don't know. I like it. And then I'd probably center it. This is how I would present it in my report. It's a lot of data though. Yep. Command Shift 4. Hannah, 50 points right there. Command Shift 4 on a Mac. I should have said that. Snipping tool on a PC, Command Shift 4. And so a lot of people nowadays take pictures with their phone and then they send it. But you can literally on a PC or a Mac use Command Shift 4 or snipping tool. Do we need to take a screenshot for our random sample? Nope, no screenshots for the random sample. We will know it throughout the report. Yep, good question, Whitley. And so we'll know your random sample size throughout the report. So don't do that because then it's like screenshot really doesn't help us know anything. This right here is the information you need. However you wish to present it is all right. And I would say this, if someone wants to go crazy, maybe we got extra credit in this report anyways. If I was presenting this, I'm going to look at one thing real quick right here. Where's tabulate? I don't know if it'll do it. I just want to see something for future reference. Yeah, it doesn't have confidence roles here, so you can't do confidence roles. That's a bummer. Okay, so I couldn't do it the way I wanted to do it. I have a way of doing it. I could do it inside of R, but I'm not going to bring it over to R and do that right now. But I could present it a separate way inside of R and only show the confidence roles stacked on top of each other, which is what I want. This is quite fine for this. It's a lot of information. But that's my only problem with it. And I could probably do it better inside R, but I'm not going to do that right now. So if you look at this information right here, let's zoom in on it. What do you notice? Ooh, it's interesting. We got some interesting stuff. Did I cut the graphic? Ooh, don't. My formatting thing is making it look weird. So that's not, ooh. Okay, maybe I won't. Okay, that's right. I like that shadow thing on it. I've used that before. Okay. Be careful. I just noticed, I looked at my graphic and I was like, it looks weird. Does anyone notice on this report right here, any of the confidence intervals that look similar? Between what and what the two intervals look similar? They might all look similar. They're all actually pretty similar. But which one of those are the most similar? What do these numbers mean? That's the biggest thing. Like, what does this 50.6 mean? Anyone idea what this 50.6 means? Gender. Gender is very similar to what? Gender is very similar to what? Gender is very similar. 50.6 means gender? Well, what's it mean? Gender and broken bone. Yeah, gender and broken bone. Those are the two ones that are very similar. About 50% of the people are female. That's what that means. And about 15.2% of the people have not broken a bone. And if you notice right here, this is 83 people out of the 164. You don't need to go into super detail. But if I were to summarize this, here's the highlights of it. The highlights of this when talking about it would be comparing male to females. The ratio is 50.6 to 49.3. And so I would say male, female for that. But for Greek life, I would say in my random sample of UT students, I'll probably just round that to 61%. I'm probably just going to round that. 61% of people were involved in Greek life, and also 51.2% of people have broken a bone. I might say compared to 48.8% who have not broken a bone. The biggest thing is if it's yes, no, you might assume like with pizza toppings, hint, hint, hint. You know, if you're saying this percent of people ordered this topping, you probably don't need to say this percent of people did not order the topping. Does that make sense? Like if you ask someone to say like, tell me about your pizza establishment, they might say, well, 85% of our people order pepperoni pizzas, where 15% of people don't order pepperoni pizza. Be like, well, I kind of assumed that because either you order a pepperoni pizza or you don't order a pepperoni pizza. So when I got to these, I pretty much would just say, like the proportion of people involved in Greek life in my survey was 61%. The proportion of people who had broken a bone in the survey was 51%, because you either break a bone or you don't break a bone. And then with male, female, I'd probably say male and female, because male, not male doesn't work as well as like male, female. So then, well, because like, these are the two category names. Yes, no is, yes, and no are complements of each other. So does that make sense? Go into greater detail. I'm a little bit confused on that. Wait, did I make a mistake on that? Oh my gosh. Woodley, 100 points. No means no, that means no. It literally means no. Sorry, I just didn't have my coffee this morning. Didn't have my coffee. See, you can learn all the statistics and then you just can't read. So good listening. I was testing everybody in chat to see if you were listening, and you passed the test. No, 61% of students at UT in my sample were not involved in Greek life. And I might report the yes level. 39% of students in my sample were involved in Greek life. I'd probably report the yes level. And then 48% of the students in my survey have broken a bone. Yep, that was an error. Definitely happens to the best of us. Not that I'm the best of us, but definitely happens. Does everyone kind of understand how to summarize this right here? Who's feeling like, I understand what this graphic shows me. I know what it means. And now we could talk about the confidence intervals a little bit here, which is the next question. When we talk about the confidence interval here, what is it trying to estimate? Well, think about this. We took a sample of 164 students. So now we're trying to see what is the true proportion. Like if you went out around UT and talked to 164 students, and then you wanted to figure out, well, what is the true proportion of students in Greek life? Well, look at this. We estimate that the true proportion of students in Greek life is contained in the interval 32 to 46. And I'm rounding here, 32 to 47, still rounding it. But listen to those wordings. I can say I am 95% confident the true proportion of students that are involved in Greek life is contained in the interval 32 to 47%. But you could switch it up. You could say, now that you know it, hopefully you know it. And once again, that is, let me write this out just so people can see it. My students who know this can do the I am blank percent confident that the true blank is contained in the interval blank to blank. Until you learn this format well, do not change it up. Do not start making changes to this until you know this format. Let me make it nice and big so everyone can see. But if you don't know this format, please start using it. It's the format we use to make sure that we do our confidence interval interpretation correct every time. And if you use this format, you should have a pretty good interpretation of your confidence interval. But the middle part is the part that people mess up. The middle part, they're in the announcement. Go to the announcement. Announcement. Here you go. Wait. Where's it at? Project released. Right here. So make sure to use this format right here. I am blank percent confident that the true blank is contained in the interval blank to blank. You're welcome there, Thomas. I am blank percent confident. So I am 95% confident the true proportion of students who are male on UT campus is contained in the interval 41.8 to 56.9. Once again, I'm just using this format right here. This is where I see the mistakes. And why is it true proportion? Who knows in the chat why I say true proportion for this and why I don't say true mean? Why do I say true proportion? Why is the third condition success failure? Gracie was reviewing this morning. Why is the third condition success failure? Why do I say true proportion? It goes back to the very first lecture. I try to tell people how important that first lecture is. Like, I love it when sometimes I'll bring 201 students in to give next 201 students advice, and people have been like, it's all about the variable type. Like, that's so important throughout the whole class. Like, is it this or is it this? Because I'm saying true proportion because the data, 100 points, who knows? Categorical data, Andy, you're totally right. Categorical data. Categorical, Hannah, also 100 points each of you. It's categorical, Whitley, and Sophia. Yep, that's why we say true proportion. We don't say true mean. If it was quantitative, we'd say true mean because we'd be analyzing the true mean, which we will do later on. I think we've kind of done this question. Do you see any overlaps between the intervals? Well, just look at your intervals. Don't look at only one of these. Like, here's my suggestion for this. Only look at like pepperoni, yes, and onions, yes. Don't do like onions, yes, overlaps with pepperoni, yes, and onions, no, overlaps with da 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 da. You're basically, you think about your intervals this. Let me draw it out here. When you have your intervals, if you only take the yes intervals, which you only have yes intervals, your intervals will kind of, microphone's in the way. Your intervals might do something like this. I'm giving it away too much by doing this. So if you have intervals like this is a huge hint. Then which things are similar? If you have intervals like this, then which of these are similar to each other, or you really couldn't distinguish differences between? Which of these are very similar and you'd be like, I don't really see any differences between. I'm going to show you some cool output while we look at that. So while you're thinking about that question, you might have to go back. I'm going to show you some output we haven't seen yet. We won't see this output in our class. Oh, that's such a lame connecting letters output. Can I actually get, okay, distance from campus. There we go. So what you just said, I want you to look at this. You just said how the intervals that overlap right here are B and C. You're actually doing higher level statistics by doing that. We call this a connecting letters report. So if you look at this connecting letters report right here, which of these groups look different? These are the ages of students at UT, and we're comparing their mean ages. And look at this. The one that stands out in its own group are people who live further away from campus, 10 to 30-minute drive. You know what's interesting is the 30-plus minute drive is not the oldest. It's the 10 to 30 minutes, because those might be people who like have a house or stuff like that, like have their own house. And then people who are 30-plus minute drive are actually similar to all of these people. The on-campus are definitely the youngest. They stand out. They have the lowest mean. But then the 30-plus minute might be similar to these people right here, like the 10-minute drive, the Fort. But I didn't even know this, that the people who are the 10 through 30-minute drive are their own group. So wherever they connect, like these intervals connecting, there's similarity between the groups. And that's how we can compare multiple means. So don't worry about that. But what you've done here by looking at where the intervals overlap, I mean, like, this one might be similar to this because they overlap. You're actually doing an advanced statistical method. You're like, oh, I'm doing advanced statistics. So, hey, I can compare things with intervals. Create your intervals. Good. Do you see overlap? Done. Who here's feeling good on question 2? I want to see some yes on question 2. Who feels like they pretty much understand how to analyze their question 2 with what these intervals mean? Just like this graphic should make sense. Sophia, nice job. So it should make sense. You should be like, I understand what's going on with question 2. I know what we're looking for. I got this. Question 2. Done. Let's hop to question 3. Let's do it. Look at this. We're making great time. We're 40 minutes in. We're on to question 3. Let's get this. So where would we see the overlapping intervals? You will have to, and I would only compare the yes toppings. Good question, Hannah. Here, let me highlight. I would only compare the yes levels. We'll pretend that this is a yes level in my output. I would look at, not the prob. That's the center of the interval. I would only compare yes levels. Oh, I'm sorry, Camden. I'm sorry. It gets the best of me a lot of times too. You got it, man. You got it. It's good. You got it, man. We're giving you some power here, Camden. So, you got it. It's fun. So let's see right here. So how do we know if they overlap? We got to look at it. We got to look at these numbers. So you could. There's lots of ways. Does 42 to 47 overlap right here? Does 42 to 47 overlap in its numbers? Does everyone see, like, if I made an interval like 42 to 47, does it overlap with 32 to 47? 42 to 57, does that overlap? Yeah, our our announcement. Go to the announcement. Yeah, 57. Yeah, sorry. I think I heard it the first time. I think I said that. The announcement, Thomas. I should remove that off the Stats 1 webpage. It's got wrong dates and everything. So go to the announcement. You should see this page right here, project released. So make sure you do that right there, Thomas. The project released. The old project from the previous semester's on the page. I should probably take that down. Don't go to the Stats 1 page for the project. So I think people are saying yes, that this overlaps 42 to 57, overlaps with 32 to 47. Does that make sense? If you look at this as like 42 to 57 and 32 to 47, they overlap. Does that make sense? So there's an overlap to where it's like, think about this. The proportion of people who are male could be as low as 42%. It could be as high as 57%. But this one could be as low as 32% or could be as high as 47%. So there's an overlap between them. Like this could be lower and this could be higher, but this could be higher and this could be lower. So can all three overlap? Yeah, all three can. Pepperoni is usually a standout. All three of mine overlap here. These two are basically on top of each other. Like, do you see 42 to 57, 42 or 41 to 56? Like these two intervals are basically identical. Like they're very much like, they're like this. If you were to draw them graphically, it'd be like the 41 to 56 and the 42 to 57. They'd be virtually like identical. So mine looks like, so putting them in order of A, B, C, my intervals look like, if I draw it out visually, you don't have to draw it out. It'd be like A, and then C was a little bit lower. So there's C, and then B was like this. So these are my intervals, and they all have an overlap. Like they all overlap in like I think it's like low 40s and high 30s. So all of my intervals contain like the low 40s, high 30s. Here's low 40s, and here's low 40s. So they all contain up to like 46. Like 41 to 46 is contained in every interval. 41 to 46, 41 to 46, 41 to 46 is contained in every interval. So this would be visually right here. Set the green pan. 41 through 46 or so. So that's that kind of range that all my intervals cover. They're very, very, in A and C are virtually identical intervals. Hopefully that makes more sense right here with kind of what we're talking about. They might not overlap, but that would mean they're different. And you're comparing pizza toppings. So you'd say like this pizza topping is different from this pizza topping. Like this pizza topping is, more a higher preference. Like if these were pizza toppings and then we had something down here, what would be the action item? Let me mention this. What would be the action item for this pizza topping I'm circling down here? What would we consider for that pizza topping? There's a lot of things we could consider. And this is what you should think about in your business report, especially for the executive summary. Like you could mention, pizza topping D. What would you think about it? There's a lot of choices you could make, but I would say we need to make some choices regarding it. It's not popular, and what choices should we make with that knowledge? Which we would kind of probably know, but sorry, eyes are being weird. What would we, since it's not popular, what might we consider? Which I don't think the report has one like that. Well, remember, we're running the pizza establishment, so we're the ones ordering for it. Yeah, you're saying order, like you're right. We could get rid of it. We could take it off the menu. It's probably olives. Yeah, it should definitely be olives because olives are horrible. Sorry, olive people. Keep less stock. You're right. Pineapples. Yeah, we should definitely consider how much we're stocking of that and to make sure, like these are the things you consider. Okay, we know this pizza topping here is not ordered as much, so we need to keep that in consideration. Our pizza establishment would probably go under if we ran out of what? If we run out of what, our pizza establishment might go under. For those doing the report, if we run out of this item on our menu, our pizza establishment's probably done. We're like, uh-oh. Yeah, if we run out of pepperoni, we need to make sure we've got a good stock of pepperoni, because if we run out of pepperoni, people are going to be very, very unhappy, which is kind of obvious. I wouldn't want to put some random topping that, pepperoni and cheese. Yeah. If you go to a pizza place, it's just like bags of pepperoni and cheese because that's what everyone orders. So we need tons of pepperoni and cheese. So, you got to go a little bit with what's obvious for these places. So, we should know that our pepperonis are very important to us. And if we ever run low on that, we're in trouble of not selling pizzas. Create a histogram and box plot using, this is the project. Oh, it is the project. Yeah, I'm just not doing it. Put pepperoni in the buy and score in the Y column. Include the graphic. Interpret the distributions for the pepperoni and non-pepperoni pizzas. Make the histograms have a count axis, horizontal format, summary, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. Let's go do it. And so we're going to click over here to our subset. We've got 2 subsets. Oh, that was this one. Do not do that. You don't need to do that. That was a whole different thing. We're going to go right here. We're going to remove this graphic right here. We're going to go to Analyze. We're going to go to Distribution. I'm slowing it down. Make sure you click these buttons. Analyze Distribution. And with Analyze Distribution, we're going to put the Y variable we want to analyze right here. Boop. So that'll be score for you guys. And then you're going to put right here the X variable you want to analyze. What X variable am I going to analyze? I'm trying to think of one that's interesting. Let's change it. High school GPA. And then let's do male versus female. So this right here, you want the blue variable up here. You want the red variable down here. Humans on Mars. Let's do it. Let's see. I actually am very interested in that. Where's humans on Mars? There we go. Down here. Let's do it. Nice job. 100 points right there. I like that. I like when you guys are like, do this one. Let's do it. Okay. So what will this do? We'll look at the GPAs of people who think humans will land on Mars versus the GPAs of people who think humans will not land on Mars. So now that we have this going, we're going to click the stack button. Stack. Cool. I hold controller command anytime you want to do something on multiple graphics. Hold controller command with your left hand. I go here and I start grabbing the axis and I get this to look the way I want it to, like this. You could always click here and go to histogram color, and you could go to a color you like. So you can pick whatever you want. You can start. These are optional things. I'm just kind of making it look the way I want. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm just kind of having fun with it for the moment. And then I'm going to hold controller command again because I'm going to do it on multiple graphics. I'm going to click the red arrow here, histogram options, count axis. Boom. We now have everything set up. We now have done it. We have now created our histograms. Does this make sense? Who's with me? I'm going to listen to some Mega Man right here as we get ready. Can you say which ones are supposed to be X and Y again? Let's double check. Let's check the project. Here we go. Create a histogram, put pepperoni in the buy, and put score in the Y. Did I say X? I think I said X at one point. It's kind of like an X. Where's my Mega Man? Oh. How's everyone doing? So we've got pepperoni is going to go in the Y. Pepperoni in the Y. And then in the buy, oh my gosh. Pepperoni in the buy. Pepperoni in the buy. And score in the Y. Pepperoni in the buy. And score in the Y. Pepperoni in the buy and score in the Y. So you should get who's got their graphics looking like this right here somehow. You should have a count access. You don't have to adjust the size. I like to. You don't have to adjust the colors. You got it. Nice job, Whitley, right there. And so good job. You guys are following along excellently. You know, make it look nice and neat. Excellent work. Excellent work. And so now, this is our graphic. We're going to screenshot this. We're going to take this. We're going to go here. We're going to screenshot. Once again, you can always get a little bit extra. Command-Shift-4 on a Mac or a snipping tool on a PC. And I did get a little extra on the side right there. So we're going to put these inside of here. I'm going to make sure I don't miss a question. Yeah, that's to make the histogram one. So we're good. Format. Crop. If one thing I can instill in people, it's to take pride in every little thing you do. Like, even if it's taking a screenshot, be like, let me make this look good. And then you kind of carry that over through the rest of the things you do. If you're like, let me try to make this, like, I know Brian's a little crazy. He's a little bit of a perfectionist at times, but I'm like, why am I going so crazy about this screenshot? Do not use that. There we go. It's horrible. Why is that even an option? I guess it's like portrait thing. Why is that an option? You don't want to use that one. Which one did we use before? Use that one. I like that one. That's just a general good graphic. Gives a little bit of depth. You know, someone might be like, that's not professional. I'm fine with it. Don't worry. Just don't do anything too crazy. My trade flows and said, yeah, I know. That's the way I am too. Is I'm too like, it's got to be perfect. This is not APA format. This is just nice report format. How do we turn the histogram horizontal? Go right here and go to the top right arrow and go to stack. There you go. Go to the top right arrow and go to stack, and it'll make them all horizontal. How's everyone doing? Nice job, Carly. 100 points, Carly. Thank you so much. You guys are like awesome at this now. You guys know what's going on. Like, while I'm answering, you guys are like, here's how you do it. Table stack. Boom. Got it. Yep. You guys got it. You know what's going on. So we got this right here. A business owner, you have to create a standard for your pizzas. Oh, man, I got to create a standard? So this right here is a null hypothesis. Yep, you got it. And so the standard you're creating, how good do you guys want your pizzas to be on a 1 to 10 scale? Now watch out. Someone's going to say it. Someone's going to say it. I'm going to be like, be reasonable. Like, say it, and then I'll say be reasonable. Like, how good do you want your pizzas to be on a 1 to 10 scale? Someone's going to say it. And I'm going to be like, you got to be reasonable. 8. Okay, that's kind of reasonable. 5, that's very reasonable. When I said 8 is 7, 7's reasonable. So I was waiting for someone to say 10, and I was going to be like, yeah, we're not going to get perfect 10 pizzas every time. So the score you're creating right here, whatever you're creating is a standard. Does that make sense? You are coming up with a standard. Like if I said, I want students to have at least a 3.7 GPA, that's a standard. So I'm going to say, I think students should have above a 3.7 GPA. You're saying, I think my pizzas should have above this score. Your pizzas should have above this score. Does that make sense to everybody? Like the standard you create is your pizzas should have above this score. So you can create it. Do you know what this is? This right here, what you've just given, for 100 points, who knows the symbol you've given? I'm going to start writing some symbols right here. It's a standard that you created. It could have been any number. Who knows what you just created? I clicked one of mine. A pattern. Can you go into greater detail, Hannah? It has a pattern. What did you just create? Oh, it might be under histogram color. You might just have to remake it. I don't know how to undo that. That's a good question, Hannah. So you created a standard for your pizza. Which of these did you just actually write down? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Let me fix that for Hannah real quick. You're talking about that. Do this, hold Control or Command and click it again. I thought you meant it had a pattern over the whole thing. Like, I thought you meant it like had a, like that. Click it again, then hold Control or Command. And nice job. Who helped out right there? Hannah Felton helping out other Hannah right there. 100 points, both of you. Great job. It's not P. It's not P. Because the score of the pizza, we can narrow down the notation. Don't worry. We can narrow down the notation to which side, the right or the left side here. We can narrow down the notation to the right or the left side because we're analyzing score. Since we're analyzing score, the right side, yep, because score is quantitative. So score is quantitative, so we can narrow it down that way. So then this is something we kind of just made up. We just like said, well, let's, you remember everyone is coming up with a different number. You guys are close now. We came up with it. We almost hypothesized. What if you guys could hear that? We almost hypothesized. What is it? This is your... It's that one. Hypothesized. This is just something you're hypothesizing, you're testing, you're just making a standard. You're saying, let's see if it's different from this. So this is just a number you create. So in this question right here, the numeric value you're creating to test against, it doesn't come from this output. Do not choose a number. You get points off if you pick a number from this output. You technically can pick any number, but do not pick a number from this output. That is not how we don't make results and then pick from the results a value to test against. If, as it says in the notes, we come up with a test and then we come up with a like hypothesized value to test, and then we test it and we look at it afterwards. So you don't make your data, look at the data, and then pick what to test. You pick something to test and then run the data. So if you were to pick like 3.8 here or 3.76, then I would probably have my grader take off points because it looks like you're just looking at the data to do it, because you should know that this mu naught right here is just any number you want. So I'm picking 3.7. I should have picked it beforehand. I should have maybe had you guys do this before even making the data, but 3.7. I am looking at the data technically because I think it'll come out interesting. Once again, I'm holding control or command right here. I'm holding control or command. Please note, Brian is holding control or command. We need like a thing like Brian is holding control or command. Now I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to test mean. I'm going to keep holding control or command. I'm going to type 3. I guess got to let go. I'm going to type 3.7. I'm going to click OK. And I type 3.7. And now I click OK. And here we are. Ooh, it turned out kind of interesting. So what you could do, because I think this is where we do the test, write out the null and alternative hypothesis. Okay, let's do that. I already did the next part. Writing out the null and alternative. Oh, I'm gonna die. You will use for both. You can write this out one time. So let me do it in Word to show you how it can be done, because I can write it, but I can do it in Word. Okay. H sub O. If you didn't know it, there's these subscript buttons up here. So if you click the sub or superscript, you can't do sub and superscript at the same time. You click this and you're in the subscript. You click this right here and you're in the superscript. So those are your sub and superscript buttons. If you didn't know they existed, they're right next to all this right here, but that's how you do sub and superscript in Word. We're going to click away from that now and do a colon. We now have written null hypothesis. Now you need to go to insert an equation, and we're testing the what though? What are we testing? What are we testing? In words, what are we testing? I've highlighted the symbol I'm going to click, but what are we testing in words? We're testing the blank of pizza scores. We're testing the blank of pizza scores. Because we should be able to say it. We should be able to read it. Every time we write a null, the average, I'll take that right there, nice. We're doing the average. We're testing the average against a hypothesized value. Good notes right there, Hannah. We're testing the average against this hypothesized value, and then the null always has the equal sign. So we can take this here, and there's a different subscript up here. This one, you have to go here if you want to use subscript. You can still use subscript other way, but I'm just using their format. As long as it looks good right there. And once again, you could just use the subscript button to put it afterwards, but the insert, or you can copy paste these from online. Lots of ways to do it. We're going to take this, and then what would you like to test for your pizzas? Would you like, and be careful, we're going to correct this up a little bit more. Would you like to test that your pizzas are less than your standard, not equal to your standard, or greater than your standard? Which of those would you like to test for your pizza? That you have a standard and you want to see if there's evidence that your pizzas are less than that standard, not equal to that standard, or greater than that standard? Which of those would you like to see for your pizzas? You want to see if they're actually, Hannah, Elizabeth, you could do that. I need to tell my grader to watch for that. Yeah, I'll take that. I'd like the 100 points right there. I wasn't thinking that. There's only one bad option, I would say. Yeah, I would say there's only one bad option. So there's only one bad option, and that bad option would be the does not equals option. I would not pick the does not equals option, because then my immediate question would be like, if they're different from the standard, then what does that mean? So you could use the less than, and then you might even say, I'd probably write a little thing after either of these. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't tell you to, but now you're seeing if the pizzas are less than our standard, like they're not living up to it. Is there evidence that our pizzas are not living up to our standard? You could say, do we have evidence that our pizzas go beyond our standards? Like the pizzas are above the standards. And I want you to think about something right here. You know what's interesting about this? And many people, my standard was 3.7. And there we go. We can do less than. Is there evidence that the true mean of students' grades is less than 3.7? So one thing I want to point out right here is, let's say I'm testing students' GPAs. In this instance, would I want to reject the null or not reject the null? So I want to see if students are not meeting my standard. what would kind of be a happy thing, to reject the null or not reject the null? So make sure to look at the null and alternative. Would a happy thing here be to reject the null or not reject the null? Which would be the more happier kind of, because we're seeing if students meet a standard. Would it be not reject the null is a little more happy? Like, what would we actually want when we run this test? Would we want to reject the null or not reject? If we reject the null, then we have evidence that students are not meeting the standard. That doesn't sound so happy. That means that students are not having a GPA. We have evidence that the students' GPAs are less than 3.7. Does that make sense? So if you don't reject the null, you would continue to believe, you'd say, well, it seems possible that students' GPAs are 3.7. So in this instance, like, yeah, so if we don't reject the null, it's like, well, I continue to believe that the GPA of students are at the standard. Like, I don't have evidence that students are below the standard. Does that make sense to everybody? Like, if you don't reject the null here, you would say, I don't have evidence that the students' GPAs are below 3.7. So if you do it this way that Elizabeth suggested, you actually you want to not reject the null. You want to not reject it. If you reject the null, then you have evidence your pizzas are not meeting your standard. Does that make sense for your pizza establishment? Like, you could run these tests weekly to see if your pizzas are meeting the standard. And then if you don't reject the null, you'd be like, okay, good. That's what we want. Maybe you want evidence, though, that your pizzas are exceeding your standards. In this instance, now, would you want to reject the null or would you not want to reject the null? Because now we're looking for evidence that they exceed the standard. Yep, Woodley, you're correct. For the previous one, yep, for the previous one. And then for this one, if I'm wanting to see if students are above the standard, we would want to reject the null. Because now I'm looking for evidence that students go beyond the standard. Now, if I don't reject the null, then it's not really bad. Not reject the null here is kind of like, we continue to believe that the mean is 3.7. We just don't have evidence that they are above the standard. So if we're trying to show evidence that we're going above our standard here, but in this instance, it's more preferable to reject the null because we'd be beating our standard. But in this one, it's more preferable to not reject the null because if we reject the null, we'd be saying we have evidence that we're below the standard that we've set. Does that make sense? That's a really good way of like saying what's going on here. With which one of these you pick. You can pick either one. Just make sure you kind of understand what you're picking and why, because then that leads to what do the results mean. So when we go and we look at our results for this, let's go and put our results right here. Perform the statistical test, interpret the results, explain to the reader what it means for your business. So I'm going to use the less than. And truthfully, I would probably do this one like, I'm going to do it like this. Here's Brian's suggestion to make your report look good. Go here to Insert, Tables, and put a 2x2. This is Brian's suggestion to make your report look good. Put a 2x2 table, and then take the graphics and put them inside the table. We're going to grab the other one here, and I'll resize here in a moment. And then I'm going to grab this graphic over here. So I'm just taking both of these graphics, and I'm going to put both graphics inside the table. We got no and yes first. Okay. There we go. And let me downsize this. We're way too zoomed in. Cool. Good. Was it no and yes? Can I move the table towards the middle of the screen? There we go. And fun with tables. No, that's not what I want to do. I should be able to. There we go. There we go. Okay. Was it no and yes? I think it was no. Yes. And then. Okay. This is Brian's suggestion to make your report look better. This is a 2x2 table. It'll always have two tails. It's just sometimes hard to see. By default, the graphic will always print this way. So you should get a graphic that looks very similar to mine. Well, I mean, it's if yours doesn't have two tails, Josh, it's because are two of your p-values really red? Are your p-values your p-value should be 0.00001 and then maybe 0.00001 and then 1. Is that what you see, Joss? 0.00001, 0.0001, and 1. And so that means that whatever you picked, you're going to reject. Well, maybe you'll reject. Let's see. Then your T statistic is going to be very large. Your T statistics are going to be very large. Yep. It's just you were far away from whatever number you gave. Whatever number you gave is pretty far away. So for Josh and other people in Whitley, your T's are probably like 4 or 5. Are your T's like 4 or 5 or negative 4 or 5? You landed pretty far away, which makes your p-values pretty small. So, and we could talk about whatever your analysis was. On neither of mine, ooh, we got the greater than. Well, let's do it right here. This will make our results different. Okay. I'm purposely picking this one just to actually like do 2 separate things. One is negative 13. Woo! Oh wait, Josh, did you pick 8 for your standard? Woo! You are way below your standard. Josh, did you pick 8? I'm guessing you picked 8. You picked 7? Do we not meet it for 7? Let me see. I want to see this. Let me go look at the data. We might not meet 7. You don't meet 7. And so, Whitley, I'm guessing you beat... Are both of your p-values really, really small? Whitley, yours are going to be different. With 5, you'll see different results, I think. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one, too. Here. You see the same results? Whitley with 5. Wait. Analyze, distribution. Pepperoni. Score. I'm just hopping in and doing this a little bit here. Okay. With 5... I want you to look at this pizza set right here. You ready? The no pepperonis had an average score of what? Always read all your data and see if it makes sense. What was the average score for the no pepperonis? The no pepperonis had an average score of what? 4.34. The yes pepperonis had an average score of this. Does that make sense? The no pepperonis had an average score of this. And the yes pepperonis had an average score of this. So you're looking at like the average score of our no pepperoni pizzas. They did not have pepperonis. And our average score of our yes pepperoni pizzas. So here's the important thing with this output. What is your p-value? Which test did you do? Less than or greater than, Whitley? Which test did you do? Less than or greater than? Did you do less than or greater than? So, and you can just put the symbol in the chat. Less than or greater than? Which test did you do? Less than. So will you use the first, second, or third p-value for all of your tests? First, second, or third p-value. The first, second, or third p-value. Which p-value will you use? The first, the second, or the third? Which p-value will you use? Because we're using the less than. The third. Nice job, Whitley. Because this is the less than test. This is the greater than, and this is the does not equals. So you'll use this test right here. The p-value is low. The p-value is low. So you'll do what to the null? So you had less than right here. The p-value is low. So what are you going to do to the null? The p-value is low. So what are you going to do to the null? The p-value you saw was low. So you're going to do what to the null? You're going to reject the null. And then just think about it in words. You have evidence that the non-pepperoni pizzas are below our standards. Does that make sense? You have evidence that the non-pepperoni pizzas are below our standard. Now, this is where people get confused because then they look at this output down here and they see a ridiculous p-value. This p-value here is very high. This is the third p-value. Once again, the third p-value is the one we're going to use because of this. You say, well, why is it the third one? Because right here, because the less than right here. What does this mean? I would, oh, wait, bad A word. We either reject or we do not reject. We either reject or we do not reject. Remember, we do reject or do not reject. So right here, you'll see that the third one here, what would we say for this? We'd fail to reject. So we would still believe that these meet the standard. Like this is meet the standard. This is below the standard. So with the pepperoni pizzas, we do not, the ones that have pepperoni on them, we do not have evidence that they are below the standard. So think about this. They were above it. You could say you have evidence they're above it. We don't need to switch the alternative, but there is evidence that they're above the standard. There is no evidence that they're below the standard because this is the greater than. There is evidence that the pepperoni pizzas are above the standard of 5. There is not evidence that they're below the standard. But here's the thing. It's all right. Some people may have picked a harsher standard. You can pick whatever standard you want. Don't just pick 5 because I just did it. Because you could pick 7 right here. If you pick 7, so now, interestingly enough, look at the red line. The red line is where we landed. You see how the red line here is in the 4s and this is in the 4s? This is at 6.6 or so, and this is at 6.6. So if you were to... Yep, you will say reject or fail to reject. And then try to make it make sense like, I reject that these pizzas are meeting our standard. I have evidence that the pizzas are below the standard. Like, that's a good way of saying what the alternative is, but not in statistical language. You will write out the statistics to show it, but saying something like, I reject that the pizzas are at our standard. There is evidence they are below the standard for the non-pepperoni pizzas. But if you picked 7, guess what? If you picked 7, then these pizzas definitely don't meet the standard. And then these pizzas here also don't meet the standard. So neither the... And you could have that standard for your establishment that there should be a score of 7. Neither... And think about this. These were kind of close, but they don't meet it. Neither the pepperoni pizzas nor the non-pepperoni pizzas meet the standard of 7. We have evidence that both of these are below 7. So if you were to test 7, you would have evidence. No, you can. Perfectly fine. Just fine. It changes the analysis. And this is what we should see, the fluidity of, like, we could test this value, we could have this standard, and then with not crazy, but with Whitley's problem, I think it was the non-pepperoni pizzas were below the standard and the pepperoni pizzas were not below the standard because we didn't reject the null. But then with this standard of 7, we reject the null for both of the pizzas. We're not meeting our standards. And so your advice could be, if I were to put this in the executive summary, like, so Camden, talking to you right here, if I were to put this in the executive summary, I would say, even though the pepperoni pizzas had higher scores than the non-pepperoni pizzas, neither pizza is meeting our standard of quality that we've set forth. We need to examine ways to increase the score for all of our pizzas, even our best ones. Boom, that's a line from the executive summary right there. Does that make sense? Now we already thought about, like, what's the action item for this? The action item, if you chose this standard, which is a good one to pick because you can be like, we got these high standards and neither pizzas are meeting these standards. Like, both pizzas are below our standard of 7. So you can reject the null for... But for this one right here, just depends on what you test. Do you see... Now, how will we know to reject the null? Yep, this will be posted. Yep, totally posted. How do we know? What if your p-value for no... So, Kelly, make sure... Good job, Kelly. Excellent work. The 9.98 can't exist. Tell me... Double-check that number, because p-values can only be between 0 and 1. And if the p-value is 1, we can't reject. So you might have something like this right here, and then you would fail to reject the null. So you would fail to reject the null. When the p-value is high, just let it fly. Is this making sense? Who feels like they understand this? Or keep asking questions. And double check that p-value. Because remember, p-values can only be between 0 and 1. Who feels like they have this part? This is some of the stuff we just did. A little bit tricky. Understanding how to interpret it. P-values between 0 and 1. Yep. P-values are probabilities. Yep. No worries, Camden. Don't worry. Keep asking. This is a conversation. What is high and what is low? You feel like, nice job, Josh. It's like, one of the things that I really like is after people take this class and then they're like, wait a minute, I kind of understand statistical testing now because it's used throughout multiple classes. We have this standard right here of alpha of 0.05. So that's the standard if not stated. And so low is below this. Anything below that is above. And anything above it is high. Just let it fly. When the p-value is low, reject the null. When the p-value is high, just let it fly. So what you do is you go back. We could look at the first test that Whitley performed right here. Her p-value here is low. That means she's going to reject the null of 5. She has evidence that these pizzas are below the standard. So she could say, I have evidence that the pizzas that do not have pepperoni on them are below the standard due to the low p-value of 0.007, 0.0007. And down here, when she tested the pepperoni pizzas, she failed to reject the null because this p-value is high. Oh, you reject the null for both of them. Yep, because both of those are low. So you must have had a high standard. You might have also tested the standard of 7. What was your standard you tested, Kelly? What was the standard you tested? And then I'll double check your work. And thank you guys so much, guys and gals, for being here. You tested 3.6? That's a 3. Wait. I would not. I would maybe change what you're testing. Why did you choose 3.6? Because remember, our pizzas are scored on a 1 to 10 scale. So I just want, here, I want you to pick a new standard, because I'll explain why. Our pizzas are scored on a 1 to 10 scale. So the value we test. Oh, you're right. I did. Sorry, Kelly. I think the confusion is I was doing GPA stuff. So I was doing GPA related stuff. And since we're doing pizzas, I would probably pick something like 5, 6, 7, 8. I would pick something like 5, 6, 7, or 8. Because 5 is like a so-so pizza, 6 is a little above quality, 7 is really high. I would not pick 9 or 10. Because if you pick 9 or 10, you're trying to say, you're testing to see if our pizzas are perfect. If you pick 10, you're testing to see if our pizzas are on average perfect, which seems ridiculous. But so I guess we'd have to accept if you picked 3.6, but it can technically be any number because it's hypothesized. But you always want to think to the business aspect of like, why are we picking this number? And 5 and 7, I think, are good numbers. 6 is fine. Like 5.5. You could always use last month's pizza scores to test against. Does that make sense too? Like we could look at last month's pizza scores and ask, is there evidence that our pizzas are improving? That's really good. If we had last month's pizza scores, I would use the pizza scores of last month to see if this month's pizza scores got higher scores. So then the null would be, the mean of pizza scores is equal to the mean of last month's pizza scores. So that'd be a really good way for a business to see if our business is improving, to say like, do we have evidence that the pizzas got higher scores this month? And that's what you'd do as a business. You'd say like, okay, we know the scores from last month. Are the scores from this month higher? And you don't just, that's the problem is like, people would be like, okay, last month we got a 6.1, this month we got a 6.2, but that's probably just due to random sampling variation. Who here kind of follows what I'm saying, that this is what a business would do. Hopefully that makes sense, because we always try to think about how would people utilize this and be like, do we know that the pizzas were actually better this month? Because if they were better this month, I'd want to know why they were better this month. And then I'd want to isolate that variation and say, well, we cleaned the ovens out, or we did this or that. Okay, so let's try to find out why people liked the pizzas better. You guys are doing great. So I did 8 and got, yep. You'd reject for both. That's Kelly. That's excellent. Kelly, 100 points. I appreciate it so much for picking the new standard. I know I said you can pick anything and then I reversed that. Kelly set a very high standard, which is acceptable, and her pizzas are not meeting her high standards. She rejects the null for both of her pizzas. Neither the pepperoni pizzas nor the non-pepperoni pizzas meet the standards. Does that make sense? You have evidence that neither the pepperoni nor the non-pepperoni pizzas are meeting your standard. So that means we need to fix up our pizza joint. We need to get the quality of these pizzas up, because none of our pizzas are meeting our high standards. We're going to come back next month and see how we're doing. That's what I would say. But as of right now, our pizzas are not meeting our standards. We reject the null for both of them. Good job. Excellent work, Kelly. Is it making a little bit more sense kind of how the whole point of this project is kind of show you how we can use stuff right here. I know, Josh. What's going on? Mega Pizzas is falling apart. Mega Pizzas need some mega help. So I hope it's kind of making sense here. Okay, this one's kind of fun. I did something nice with this data that a few people have noticed. This is, and I'll put sections in this video. You can see which questions we're doing at times. We've got right here regression, and you just need 2 quantitative variables. Now, we're just going to say it in the video because I'm fearful. What do you think is your Y variable of interest? Maybe someone will make an argument. Remember regression. What are the only 3 variables? You can tell me either one of these. What are the only 3 variables we can use for regression right here? When you're doing regression, it narrows it down to a certain subset of variables. When you're doing linear regression, I should say. Someone's going to be like, what about logistic? Yep. And so which one of those seems most scores? Yep, time. Yeah. Time till delivery. What of those variables sounds most interesting to you, like you'd want to know? Great job, everybody. What of those variables would sound most interesting to you that you'd be like, we should really kind of understand the variation within this one? Like, you'd be like, and there's one that people think could be, but I would say the most important one, because I think it's gonna, people are saying sauce. Make an argument for sauce. Though I would narrow it down to those two, but I would think that I would say it's score delivery time, but with the data set right here, delivery time we don't really have good X variables for. So you always have to think about your X and Y relationship. So you would have to say, does the sauce on the pizza explain the score? By saying, does the sauce on the pizza explain the score? That means I'm saying sauce is the what variable. Does the sauce on the pizza explain the score? Someone put in the chat, 100 points. Does the sauce on the pizza explain the score? The sauce is the what variable for it. It's the X. Hannah, 100 points right there. And Sophia. So does the sauce on the pizza explain the score? So we're saying sauce is the X variable, score is the Y variable. Does the time it takes to deliver the pizza explain the score? So whenever you say, does this explain this, you're asking, is this variable the X? You're not asking, is it the X? You're calling it the X. Does time to delivery explain the score of the pizza? Like why it gets a certain score. But it's kind of mixed up if you say, does the score of a pizza explain how long it took to deliver it? Maybe we want to say how long it took to deliver explains the score. Does the sauce on the pizza explain how long it takes to deliver it? Well, think about that. The only way a sauce on a pizza would explain how long it takes to deliver it is if, like, more sauce means it takes longer to deliver a pizza. Like, since we're adding more sauce to it, it takes longer to... I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Does how long it takes to deliver a pizza explain the sauce on it? That's ridiculous, too. Like, you have to think about the way you're asking the question, and we probably want to understand this variable right here. You could say we do want to understand how long it takes for pizzas to be delivered, but we'd probably have to have variables like how far someone lives away, who was driving the pizza, what time of day it is. So we could have data in here like what time of day it was, what part of Knoxville do they live in, if this is a pizza establishment in Knoxville. So I would say we don't really have the X variables to explain time to delivery right now. Time to delivery would need other X variables that we don't have. And I just kind of mentioned the outro here. I kind of went in a little bit of detail into the outro right there. So we don't really have the variables. So here's our Y variable. So I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to do slightly different stuff here. I'm going to do data set, like the age of the driver. Yep. Camden, you're right. Yep. And so that is outro talk right there, because that is talk of things that we could do in the future. So what you just thought up right there, Camden, 100 points, excellent work. That's kind of stuff we'll put in the outro, which the outro, when we get to it, we'll explain is kind of the where do we go from here? What could we do from now? Like what new things could we do? Don't just go back through the report, because you've already summarized your report, written your report, and now you want to kind of say like the what goes on from here, like what happens next. It's the to be continued of the report. To do regression, we go to analyze fit y by x. Then we put in something like, I'll do a lame one. We put in number of pets and how much people spend on pets. We click OK. So we put in two quantitative variables. Put score up here. Score. I can't make that clear enough. I don't want to see reports that don't have score, and I've given away that answer. So don't put score up there. Now you go here and you go to the red arrow and you go to fit line. So you go to the red arrow and you go to fit line and you get your regression line. You can close off the analysis of variance. You can make the screenshot work better on the screen. And here you are right here. So this is your full screenshot. We've now done the complete regression. We have now done all regression. Regression, output, complete. Explain your variable. Make sure you explain. Don't pick sauce. I think it's very obvious. Are both your variables quantitative? If yours looks very different, are both your variables quantitative? Were they both blue variables? Were they both blue? What did it look like? Let's double check right here. Oh, like, are you saying, did you get a scatter plot? Did you get a scatter plot? Mm-hmm. And then yours, yep. I bet yours looks like, does it look like that? Not that I made something to look like that. What does that mean? The line's flat. The points look like a blob. Whitley, you're doing great. There's a bunch of people probably being like, "Thank you, Whitley. You're asking the question." That's what I saw. So we've got like version A and version B of this. These are two very different outputs. So version A and version B. You can use whatever you want. You can use either or. You can use either or because they come out different ways. I know, 100 points Whitley again. Version A right here. Let's describe these. Graphic A shows a relationship. Either or is fine. What does B tell you about your pizzas? Or like, because version A right here, we see that there's outliers, that there is a linear relationship. There's a linear relationship, there's outliers, and there might be some heteroscedasticity. But in graphic B, what's going on right here to the linear relationship, which is fine. This is something you should know. How about sauce and pizza? There's what between the two variables? Because what will you see in the output with sauce and pizza? What will you see between the variables? Oh, wait, not sauce. Delivery time. Watch out. A is more like sauce. Sauce is a very strong relationship. Because you would think delivery time and pizza score. No correlation and no linear relationship. You think about the line being flat means that there's no linear relationship. There's no, like, delivery time does not give you information about the score of the pizza. Like, all the variation around it is just random. In graphic B, all the variation is just random. So there's really no relationship between how long it takes to deliver the pizza and the score the pizza gets. There's no relationship to this. It does not tell you anything to know the delivery time about the score of the pizza. So truthfully, what do you learn from this? That your delivery system right now is not a problem. And you know where the problem might be, or the thing we could keep doing well. I heard someone recently say, they're talking about how their teacher talks about their reports, and they're like, what did Josh do well? Or what did Josh do well in front of the class? What could Josh do even better? Like, that's such a good way of putting it. Like, what did Josh do well? Okay, so what the good things are. What could Josh do even better? How do you choose the categories? Oh, sorry, what do you mean, Kelly? Expand upon that question. The making of the actual pizza. Yeah, the delivery time's not the problem here. So if you analyze delivery time, that's not a problem. Our delivery time, I mean, it doesn't tell us anything about the score. The delivery time and score are independent of each other. There's no relationship between how long it takes to deliver the pizza and the score the pizza gets. All the variation in it is just pretty much random. But what is not random is the relationship between score and pizza. I mean, sauce and pizza, sauce and score. So how do you choose Y and X? Because remember, the Y variable is the one you want to understand, and the X variable is the one you think might explain it. So you have to say, do I think that this X variable explains this Y variable? So if you say something like, do I think that the amount of sauce on the pizza explains how long it takes to deliver a pizza? Does that make sense? Yes or no in the chat. Do I think that the amount of sauce on the pizza would explain how long it takes to deliver the pizza? So sauce would be X and delivery time would be Y. Does that make sense? Like, is that something you would want to be like, should I try to understand? No, it doesn't. It's like, what you think that don't worry, someone might have done it. Don't worry if you did. Don't just delete that graphic. That graphic would be like, does the amount of sauce on the pizza explain how long it takes for us to deliver a pizza? And you'd be like, why would we? That doesn't make sense. We're not going to analyze that. So the idea of picking the right X and the Y is important here. Think about mine right here. Do you think the amount people spend on their pets explains how many pets they own? You could flip-flop them either way. but do you think that the amount people spend on their pets would explain how many pets they own? And do you see how I can look at the X right here and I can say the amount people spend on their pets explains how many pets they own, because this is the X and this is the Y variable. So this would make sense right here, and we see a somewhat strong linear, it's like a moderate linear positive relationship with some extreme outliers. Like this person here owns 10 pets and only spends another way above. So they spend a ton. They have way more pets than we would expect them to. That's what I should say. They have 10 pets and they spend 50,000. So they have more pets than we would have expected. We would have expected them to have about 2 pets. This person right here spends 10,000 and only has about 3 pets. Yeah, because it's integer data. So fit the least squares line, include the scatter plot in your output. Boom, we got it. Do not include these questions in what you're doing. Delete the questions. This is meant to look like a report. Examine your scatter plot for potential outliers and report whether it has outliers or not. Even if you don't see any outliers, identify the most extreme residual. Include a short write-up. Okay, which of these points? You ready? Point, space pen's back. Point A, B, C, or D. Which of these is the most extreme residual? Points A, B, C, or D. Which is the most extreme residual? Yep, it's B. B is the most extreme residual. We just drop a line down like that, and that is the residual. So that is the most extreme. How would you talk about this right here? This right here is that there is a individual in my data set that owns 10 pets and spends $5,000. So does everyone see that? And also, if you want to better see who they are, you can go back and you can hover over them. If you hover over them, it'll show you. You could also tag this to the report. You'd have to re-screenshot. Don't cover up your data points. So just don't do this. That would get you points off. But you could do this right here. You could even, I don't know. I don't know. If I were to display this graphic on its own, I might do this. So technically, you could do another screenshot. This is okay too. But make sure you do it in the right spots and stuff. So technically, and I would not have it this huge. Always think about how large you're making your screenshots, as though it's on a sheet of paper, because it is. It's not printed yet. And so this right here really displays the data very well. Could mine be the lies lower on? Yep. It could be lower. The most extreme can be below. Yep, the one that is furthest away from the line has the most extreme residual. Yep. So you're just remembering that residual is how far it is above or below, and most extreme could be below. Great job, Whitley. Excellent questions. Excellent work. You're going to be done with this project. Great job. Great job. So, and great work, everyone. We got a lot of people here working away. Report and interpret the R-squared in context of the problem. So my R-squared for this problem, you see, I see that, and I can't let that go. I can't let that little tiny, where's my crop? Oh, let's rotate. Oops. I didn't rotate, did I? I'm not turning this in, but I just can't have that. Oh, it's better now. Okay. So now interpret the R-squared. Who here can interpret the R-squared for 100 points? I'm putting on some Mega Man again. I want you to put the interpretation of my R-squared in the chat. We're going to lose Punch Out now. Yeah. I need more music. We haven't gotten hit with copyright yet for these songs, so I'm like, okay. Haven't gotten in trouble for these songs yet. So... And I just saw one of my channels I watch on YouTube get hit with a copyright. Who's going to interpret my R-squared for me while I untangle my headphones? I need someone to interpret that R-squared. Take a look at it. Give it a shot. Pause the video. Take a moment. You know I'll do it, but I want to see if you guys can. What's up, Keaton? Where's Punch Out? We got this. Who's got my R-squared interpretation? Anybody? You guys are like, Brian, we're so burnt out on Punch Out. Ah, so close, Hannah. Great job. 100 points, Hannah. Yes. What percent of the variation? Hannah, you're basically right. 14.7% of the variation in pet. 14% of the 14.7% of the variation in the number of pets people own is explained by people's pet expenses. Remember, when you say explained by, it should be the X variable. Does that make sense? So when you say 14.7% of the variation in the number of pets people own is explained by their pet expense. Hannah, excellent work. Hannah, I'm throwing you 200 points. Thank you for jumping out on the limb there and giving it a shot, reviewing a question we haven't done in a while. But yep, no worries. Remember, it's always the X variable that does the explaining, so look at the X axis. And it just takes practice. So blank percent of the variation in Y is explained by the variation in X. So 14.7% of the variation in number of pets is explained by the variation. This works. This shows that around 50.8% of the variation in the score of pizza explained by Josh, 100 points. I'm going to knock over my whole desk here. Can't do that. I need to buy a new desk in Texas. I don't know, because I'm always afraid I'm going to lean on this desk and it's going to explode, because this desk that I've got very expensive equipment on is like a counter you put next to your kitchen to like a prep counter. It was not meant to be a computer desk. It's going to explode one day. So if I have, you could say about 0. I would say about 0. Woodley, Woodley, great. That means it. Think about what that means. Woodley, you must have done delivery time. So delivery time doesn't explain any of the variation. It explains next to 0% of the variation in the score pizza gets. I've literally just done the interpretation. But so what do you learn from that? That delivery time tells you next to nothing. Delivery time doesn't tell you anything about the pizza score. Sauce does. The sauce tells you. And there's action items from both of these. The action items from the sauce is, and also, and true, it is true that it's not correlated. I would maybe focus on that it doesn't tell you anything, like it doesn't explain the variation. And also the correlation is close to 0. You could find correlation if you want. Regression is kind of the next step after correlation. We did that. Is the linear relationship statistically significant? Whitley. I'm sorry, I'm Leon. Whitley, I am guessing that your p-value here for this is very, very high. So ours is very, very low. The p-value here is low. And does that mean it is statistically significant? Yes. And so Whitley's graphic has a high p-value, and her graphic looks like this. If her p-value is low, I'll be shocked. But Whitley, your p-value should be high, maybe like something like this. How close was I in guessing your p-value? I'm guessing your p-value of 0.912. How close was I in guessing your p-value? I'm guessing 0.912. So Whitley's p-value is very high. And what does that mean? It means that this relationship she's seeing here between the points in the line is most likely by random chance. So there's probably no relationship, no correlation, no nothing. There's no linear relationship. There's no correlation. It's all by random chance. So I would say that, we would say that the delivery time and the pizza have nothing to do with each other. They're not related. There's no association. So does that make sense on these questions? Who's doing well on these? Who's got these? We should be all right on these. We only got one more question. You guys ready for the decision tree? Who here has been following along, and we haven't even been doing this 2 hours? Yeah, it's pretty high. That's what I thought. What is your p-value, Camden? What is your p-value? What is your p-value? Oh, if it's in the middle? Yeah. Good question. I set it up so it can't be. But the main things we look at right here, you'll either get a very high one or a very low one for this, but good question, Camden. You'll use the 0.05 standard, Camden, 100 points. Keep those, because everything is not the real world. Everything in the real world is not this project. So you have to look at, if your p-value is below 0.05, if it's right at 0.05, you don't reject, but below 0.05, reject. Your p-value is low. Anything above 0.05, you would... I hate it that it... let me try it again. Good. So anything above 0.05, you would not reject. So you use the 0.05 standard, and your 0.05 is alpha. So your 0.05 is alpha. When things are below 0.05, reject. When they're above 0.05, do not reject. So that's your 0.05 standard there. When things are below 0.05, reject. When they're above 0.05 or above, not reject. Yep. And so I purposely picked numbers here, and make sure you look at this number right here. That number is the important number. That number right there is the super duper important one. That's got that whole question. We got it. Time for some decision trees. Let's just start doing my green arrow till like then I know I'm on this question. Good. Report and select the variable you selected and the reason you're selecting it. What variable do you think we'll select here as our important variable that we want to explain, that we want to understand, I should say? Other variables will explain it. What variable do you think we will select again? What variable do you think we will select again? Score. Yep. And so I'm going to go back here to my data set, make sure you're selecting score because you don't want to understand why we have pepperonis on a pizza. You want to understand things like score. So let's go here to predictive modeling partition. Predictive modeling partition right here. Predictive modeling partition. And we are going to make a partition model. Let's do it. With this partition model, we're going to pick the variable we want to understand, like why do people break bones? We're going to pick all the other variables. Now, I think I said this in yours, but in your data set, there are no identifiers. Where there's an identifier right there. I should have put in an identifier. I should have done it. But there are no identifiers in your data set. So you've got it a little bit easier. I'm dropping answers right now. There's no identifiers or things that act like identifiers. I think one of the questions I wrote asks you to talk about that, like what variables would you not include? And I'm removing the things that are identifiers. Major acts like an identifier. So does favorite phone app that acts like an identifier too. So I removed out all the things. Whoops. Oh, I had it in both spots. Well, don't delete my output then. Let me just do it again then, because you want to delete my output. So the way I usually do it is I go here and I delete these, and then while doing this, I take broken bone and I put it here. And now we need to remove major. Where's major on? Darn major. There's major. And then favorite phone app. You don't have to worry about this because your data set does not have things that are identifiers or act like identifiers. Does that make sense? Your data set does not have identifiers or things that act like identifiers. Can we pick anything for Y? Make an argument. I would not pick anything because you want the Y to be something you want to understand. And then you have to think, can your X's explain it? I would not pick anything. I'd really pick a certain variable. We're kind of dropping hints here. I'd really pick a certain variable. What variable do you think you should probably pick? Because that's probably what we want to understand. Now, you can make an argument right now for something else and convince me. I'll throw you mega points if you can convince me of another one. But I kind of designed it where there would only be one Y. Yep. That's the answer. Because that's probably what you want to understand about your pizzas. That's like what we really want to know is like what's going on with why the pizzas get certain scores. Go ahead and click the color points. Do you see that button? Let me show it again. Redo, relaunch. Okay. Go to the color points button. Do you have a color points button? Click it and it colors the points. Mine were already there, so it did it. How's it looking on that? Pretty good? Pretty good? I need to get some. I'm gonna get some Starbucks. I like the Frappuccinos, the ones you get. I need to get some K-Cups. I ran out of K-Cups. I'm not getting enough coffee these days. And I don't know, maybe I'll just use my pour over. I make too much. And I drink like so much coffee I get so wired. Josh, let's double check. What did you put in for your Y variable, Josh? I know I should get reusable K-Cups. That's what I should do. I don't know. I like those Starbucks Frappuccinos. I can get them for like $1.20. Then you should have it. Yours is not changing colors. Can someone help me? I know, Cafe Mocha, man, so good, so good. I try to save so much money. Rainbow set of 7. I should do that. Well, you should have. Let's show it over here. I'll show you. I can show you this process. Okay. You should have over here. Score. What'd you do? Stay score. Okay. So we should have score right here. Analyze. Partition. Does everyone see this right here? And then we go to score. And then we got this. Does that work? How we doing? Are we on this step right here? Is everyone good on this? It might be a jump 15 thing. That's what I'm thinking in the back of my head. I'm like, did they change it? Right. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, because yeah. Brian's brain's not working. It's quantitative. It's quantitative, so we can't color it. Who's the first person to say where's coloring at? Because I can't. Whitley, another 100 points. Whitley, excellent work. Excellent comments. Brian, you can't color these ones because it's not categorical. So you can't do it. Dun, dun, dun. Because there's not categories to this. So you cannot do it. Won't work. So we can start splitting it, and I think, how many times do I tell you to split it? There's some answers right there. So report the variable selected. Explain briefly to it how a decision tree works. I don't want to say the answer to this. Make sure to mention the variable's not used. I already talked about this. Rewind the tape. I kind of talked about it. And just think about how it works. Place the Y variable you selected. Create a screenshot. Do 3 splits. We've done 3 splits. Examine the first split in the tree and explain the nature of the association between your Y variable and the first split. So when you make the first split right here, the nature of the association between the first split, you could look at it. You can pause right here. So you will screenshot this, but you could pause your tree right here and look at it. We're trying to see if people have broken a bone. And what do you notice is the X variable that came into play? Can someone tell me what my X variable is? My X variable is what? My X variable is... What is the X variable I use to explain it right here? Born in Tennessee. So these people were not born in Tennessee. These people were born in Tennessee. The people not born in Tennessee were more likely to what? The people not born in Tennessee, which I'm highlighting right here, I'm highlighting this group right here, are these people. The people not born in Tennessee were more likely to what? They were more likely, look at the Y variable, the distribution of the Y right here. They were more likely to what? The people not born in Tennessee. They were more likely to do something. Where your data, your first split right here, the thing that explains score is what? I'm not going to say your answers, because your answer is probably going to be very similar to mine here. Tyler, make sure to follow the video. Are you watching? You might have to email me about it, Tyler. Email me, Tyler, and I'll make sure you get the right video. Yours might be pepperoni. Mine is not pepperoni, though. Mine is sauce. And so something about sauce and the amount of sauce might be explaining this. Because what do we want to explain? We want to explain this. And the first split right here is on sauce. Who here thinks, now don't put it in the chat, but who here thinks they can interpret their first split? Like, who here thinks they could interpret their first split right here to be like, oh, like, it's on whether or not this, and then we can look at the things for this and the thing for this. Who here thinks they understand what's going on, like, with their first split? Like, the importance of it in the relationship it goes into, which is something we may have talked about before previously. So everyone should find this in their report, that there is a relationship between this and this, because it's found in the first split. Who thinks they can see something right here? You got it? Awesome stuff. Great job. Great job. So make sure to look at it and think what's going on and just put it into words like you would talk to someone about it, and make sure to mention the numbers. Like this number here would be important to mention. This number would be important to mention. You got it. Examine the first splitting stand. Talk about the association. Look through the leaf report and find the leaf with the most pizzas in it. So how would we find that? I'm looking at the quantitative one just so we can look at it. Does anyone see where the leaves are at? How many leaves are in this report? And we need to go to the leaf report. So let's go here to leaf report. Oh, look at that. Nice and easy. Wow, that's such a good leaf report. Let's take my leaf report. There we go. There's the leaf report. Which leaf has the most pizzas in it? Does this make sense here? Which leaf has the most pizza in it? Oh, this is... It's kind of obvious, and I don't want to give away the last one. I'll let you guys put it in the chat. Leaf number 4. Now, what do you notice about this? Like, what do you immediately notice that will probably go into our executive summary right here? What do you immediately notice about this that would be super valuable information? Like, what is like the... This is literally part of your guys' project, and I've literally done part of the project. What is something I would notice immediately about this that the pizzas with the highest scores? Like, what do you immediately notice about this? Like, people love what? Like, there's something really obvious going on right here. Like, there's something we would immediately get from this. Be like, wow, there's really... People really like this. I'd be like, people really love the sauce. Yep. I'd be like, something... Yep. I'd be like, man, because these pizzas right here have a sauce greater than or equal to this, and they have a sauce greater than or equal to this. So this is... They have more sauce than this and more sauce than this. These are our, like, super sauce pizzas. Now, we shouldn't just add... Like, if people want light sauce, we're going to put light sauce on the pizza. But we might, you know, in general, just start putting more sauce on the pizza. And someone might say, well, that's more cost. You know, we'd look at the cost of the sauce, you know, like, okay, if we add, you know, this much more sauce, how much does this cost in product? But overall, you know, like, if you can probably get a customer to order one more pizza a month, you're going to offset your costs completely. So if you get people to like the pizza more and you become their favorite pizza establishment and they order their pizza from you, you're going to get way more business than if you're like, we got to cut costs. We can't put sauce on the pizza. Like, if you had someone arguing we should cut costs and put less sauce on the pizza, we could put half the sauce we normally do. You'd be like, no, all of the pizzas that people love, they love it because of our sauce. We got to keep the sauce up. So, you know, this is how we make business decisions. Someone might say, like, well, we could save X amount of dollars by cutting the sauce. I know that's the problem. People are going to stop liking our pizza. So you look at the business decision here from this. Yes, of course, less product, putting less sauce on means we save money. But if we were to, you know, do this, our pizzas would probably get lower scores. You can't say the sauce causes the pizzas to get a certain score, but you can say the score a pizza gets is associated with the amount of sauce on it. So do you believe it's important? I think I just made a huge argument. Huge argument. I literally just went into that because when I see a business related thing, I got to do it. For where can you download Jump? The project, and I have it. Did I not put it? Let me go grab that video for you. And Ben, if you want to do any of it in R, I'll explain how to do it in R. I'm putting a project playlist in here. This is not the right project playlist, but it's got the install instructions on it. So let me put like a huge like disclaimer when I put this in the chat. Like, this is a project playlist right here. It's got the install for Mac and PC, but it's not the right. Mine says missing and no missing with along with my numbers. Did you exclude a point, Andy? If you excluded a point, go back to here. Like, I'm wondering how I would say that because it would only say that if there's excluded data, and you shouldn't have excluded data. If you do, go here to rows and go to clear row states. So, no missing. You might have to send me a screenshot of that, Andy. If you have excluded data, go to clear row states. Clear row states. Clear row states. And that should do it right there. Clear row states. And last but not least, let's talk about the outro. I'll let you guys do the bonus. Let me drop in the chat right now the links for the bonus. So the decision trees, where is it? Make pivot tables, pivot tables. So pivot tables right here you can do as a bonus. Probably guys here in the background. So the pivot tables can be done as a bonus. And so make sure to do your Excel pivot tables right here. Do them as a bonus. This just walks through. I would definitely do the bonus. Definitely. How we're doing right there, everyone, on all the topics. So I would do the pivot tables as a bonus. Next but not least, let's take a look at that outro and we'll be done with the project. With the last thing right here, with the project instructions, let's bring them up. We have the outro. So when it comes to the outro, outro. What is the last thing? I think that's basically it. Let's say 4 through 6 sentences. So this right here is very important. Let me bring up the chat. So, and then with the outro, do not just go back through your project. Do not just start restating, I found this, and I found this, and we found this, then we found this. Do not go back through your project. That's a bad outro right there to be like, because you've already given your full project in the executive summary, and then someone read their project, and then the outro is going to be kind of like the where do we go from here? The best way I can describe the outro is like a Marvel movie, and I said that earlier on, is when you get to the outro of a Marvel movie, it's like something new, something exciting, something that makes you want to watch it. Oh yeah, don't worry, Kelly. It's because it's quantitative. Sorry, that's my fault. Because it's quantitative, you won't have it. You might be backwards in time. Since it is quantitative, does it say to do that in the project instructions? If so, I gotta delete that. Okay, I don't think it says to do that. All right, good. That's my fault, Kelly. That is my fault. So with the outro, don't just go back through your results and be like, we saw this and we saw this and we saw this. You want to give new ideas moving forward. We talked about some stuff like collecting on like who delivered the pizza. Can anyone who here in the chat can tell me while I listen to some, I got to get new music. I got to get music I can play that I won't get in trouble for. Can you tell me some other variables we could have collected about our pizzas? What other variables could we have collected about our pizzas? Actually, I have a song I think I can use. But it's not as awesome as this one. Any other variables we could have collected? Anything? Everyone's working away. People might be pretty much done with the project. If you can't think of any, I've already mentioned quite a few throughout this project here. I've already mentioned quite a few variables we could use. And with that in mind, with all the variables we could use, like we just mentioned them here at the end, that we could collect on things like, you know, who delivered the pizza, what time of day it was delivered, you know, there's other things that would go into the score of our pizza. And moving forward, I would think that we should continue to collect data monthly so that we can see if we are exceeding our standards. And we could start to see if our score is increasing each month and try to figure out that variation by collecting things like, you know, do we have other toppings? Do we have, we could give a pizza a visual score at the end. Days of the week. What day? Yeah. That's huge. Friday, there's going to be a lot of variation. And even who the customer was who ordered the pizza, like right there, Elizabeth, 100 points. Yeah, like what day of the week was the pizza was, or why don't we have that information? Why doesn't our data set show us what day of the week? And these are things we can't analyze right now. We can't analyze, if day of the week explains what people thought of our pizzas or how long it took to deliver, because delivery time might be associated with day of the week, because, and especially time of day, delivery time is probably associated with time of day. So we might do something like, imagine we find out that Friday nights, and I think they do this, Friday nights might be the hardest delivery times. So we might have a carryout special. If you look at places that have like carryout specials, maybe they might do that also because they don't want to have as many delivery drivers on staff on Monday. So rather than, because they might not be delivering that many pizzas, so they might do a carry out special because, if they're going to give you $1 off, then they don't have to pay the driver as much. So the business, does that because delivery on Friday takes like 3 hours. Yeah, exactly. So they'll do a carry out, especially with the places near campus. They should really, I don't know. I would be coming up. I'm one of those idea people who's never satisfied, and I'm always coming up with ideas. So if I was the Domino's on campus, I would have like a dorm room special where you could order like 4 pizzas and a 2-liter Coke for $20. 4 pizzas, no, maybe 3 pizzas. 3 pizzas and a 2-liter Coke for $20, and it's gonna have tax included. So get this, it's like you come down and you bring a 20, and like so it's tax already included. So it was like $17.80 or whatever it is pre-tax. So you literally bring a 20 to Domino's, and anyways, the 2 for 2 is basically like we're almost doing the same cost, but you get in the 2-liter of Coke. So you get the dorm room special, you get 3 medium 2-topping pizzas, and you get a 2-liter of Coke for $20, tax included. So literally you could come in with a 20 and be like dorm room special, and it's pickup only. So, like someone could be like, oh dude, go get the dorm room special. I mean, that'd be like you and your friends would have pizza for a long time. I think they'd go crazy with that. I think it'd be insane. You know what they could do it only on like Wednesday nights or something like that. And what they should do is they should put flyers out. They should go to Ped Walkway and hand out like, this Wednesday, like dorm room special, 2 topping, or they could do 1 topping if they wanted, whatever they want. But would you guys order that? 3 2-topping pizzas and a 2-liter of a drink of your choice. You have to pick it up though. Man, it would be crazy. They'd be like probably like people out the door at Domino's. Good time during the quarantine. Fun times. But that's just an idea. Then we would see if it works. It might not work. That might be a horrible idea. They might be like, yeah, that wouldn't work because of this reason, this reason. You're not a pizza dude, Brian. I'd be like, I'm sorry. I'm just a numbers guy. But this is what you have to do. You have to then try it out. You have to see if it works. You have to look at the variation. And then if it works, you figure out how to make it work better. And this is what we do with statistics, is we just look at the numbers. We say like, okay, how did this work? How can we make this better? And I love it because it's just all data driven. It's like, okay, let's make it work better. Because that's why I like YouTube so much. Because it's like, oh, like how can I make my YouTube videos better? But I think that's got it. We did the whole project in 2 hours. We talked through it all. Is anyone in chat got their project basically completed, or has it like they're feeling really good about it right now? I got the project basically done. I'm going to be done in an hour or two, just cleaning it up, writing a few things down. Who feels like they've got a good, like they're going to be done in an hour or two maybe on the project? Who feels like that? Mary, you can send it for me to give it a look over. We'll see if anybody's in chat. Basically done. Wow. That's awesome. 2 hours. 2 hours. And I rambled as I usually do. 2 hours of Brian rambling and being ADD. Need to go back and do question 1? Well, you mean question 2 probably, because question 1's the random sample. Please make sure you did the random sample, because it should be used the random sample throughout the project. So I hope you have the random sample. But I think that's got it. Does anyone have any last? Yeah, I know, right, Josh? I was like, I think you mean question 2. I'll put some timestamps in this video. Any last questions right here before I head off? It's really good. It's right at 2 hours because it should post almost immediately. I'm going to head off here really, really quickly so that way it posts. Any last questions? Any last questions? Feel free to ask them if you have them. But I might even stream a little bit later. I'm going to record some videos today, I think, too. You're welcome, Camden. You're welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you guys so much for showing up this morning. Get the project done. Awesome stuff. Remember, I moved the quiz till tomorrow night. And you know what? We got to have our man appear. We need our daily event. Where you at, Mega Man? He's got to appear for the end of the day. Is it in here? One of these is right. Okay. One of these is right. One of these is wrong. I can sort by time. Sort by date. Okay, now I know which one's right. Oh, no, it's not in there. Oh, does this one work? Oh, my gosh. Let's see if it works. That one didn't have the right alpha channel, but that's our new Mega Man, Mega Mondays. Sorry, I didn't export that one with the right alpha channel, so you can see him again here. Here's our new Mega Man. Oh, wait. I turned it off. I love that little dude. That little dude's awesome, man. He's got his guitar and everything. He's happy. But I didn't put the alpha channel on it, so it went black because there was no export. I forgot to export the alpha channel. For question 1, do we need to do anything in Jump? Just your random sample. Question 1's just your random sample. Don't screenshot it. We'll be able to see it throughout the project, so don't take a screenshot. But I think that's got it. So does that make sense, Josh? We'll know throughout the project if you've done it. So question 1 is literally just taking the random sample. But that's got it. That's got it. So bye, everybody. I'm glad it was really helpful, Sophia. I'll see everybody maybe later. Who knows? If you have questions, please email me. Please email me. Bye.